Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Inside the Pages, a talk show where we look at the minds of the authors, illustrators, and publishers of your favorite books and novels. This week we're going to be looking at the masterminds behind the New York Times bestseller and winner of the National Book Award, The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. Today we have joining us publisher Suzanne Freedman and illustrator Ellen Forney. Unfortunately, Sherman Alexie was not able to make today, but Suzanne will be talking on his behalf. A warm welcome to Suzanne Freedman and Ellen Forney. Thank you both for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, this is amazing.
So without further ado, let's dive into this. Suzanne, I understand that through the process of publishing this book, you and Sherman Alexie became very close. Would you give us a brief summary of what the Absolutely True Diary is about?
Yeah, of course. So, Junior, the main character, is a young boy living on the Spokane Indian Reservation. He's born with many medical problems, and he gets picked on by everyone except his best friend. But despite all of the bullying and family issues Junior faces, he uses these events as kindling for his cartoons and sketches, which is his way of making his world a little less gray. Determined to receive a better education, Junior makes the courageous decision to leave the res and attend an all-white high school. Despite even more challenges of being ridiculed and made to feel like an outsider, Junior perseveres with wit and humor to discover a strength inside him that he never knew he had.
Thank you. And can you elaborate on what inspired Sherman to write this comedic yet tear-jerking book in the first place?
Yeah, so a lot of the events that are in this book were actually inspired by true scenarios that had happened to Sherman when he was a child.
And by working with Sherman to illustrate the book, I learned that these events in the book do actually loosely outline things that happened to him as a child, and they inspired him to share his story with the world through a novel.
Wow, that's very interesting. I had no idea that the book was actually based on true events from Sherman Alexie's life. Now, Ellen, can you tell me what your biggest concern was when creating art for this book?
So, my main concern while creating art for this book was that my work would not be authentic and my own personalized style of illustrations. I was afraid at first that my work was going to be too goofy for the content that the book covers, but I also didn't want to have to dumb it down for readers. So I tried switching up my drawing style, but reverted back to my original drawings after consulting with Sherman. I decided it would be best fit Sherman's style of writing if I drew in my original work.
One thing I'm very curious about is what drew you as a publishing company to this novel. What made you want to share this book with the world?
Yeah, so something that was really great for me when Sherman first approached me and showed me the drafts was I was really interested in it mostly because of the humor. Taking something such a sad and heavy topic and adding humor and wit really made it a fun read. I mean, although the topics are sad and heavy, it's much better and suitable for a younger audience. I also think that First Peoples history is such a big part of our community. And our history as well, and so it's important to keep their literature alive. And so we can spread the awareness and keep moving towards reconciliation.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that educating younger generations on Indigenous issues does really help us as a society take a big step towards reconciliation. By drawing cartoons, Junior, the main character, feels safe. He draws because, quote, "I want to talk to the world. I want the world to pay attention to me." How do you, Ellen, think that the cartoon shows his understanding of the ways that racism has deeply impacted his and his family's lives?
Yeah, so drawing is almost like therapy for Junior, and it gives him the chance to express how he feels about himself and other people. So through his drawing, he can express the need that he feels to be free from the reservation that he lives on, and also the stereotypes that kind of imprison him there. He also knows that if he stays on the reservation, he will end up in this continuous cycle that everyone there faces, and that is the cycle of drinking and depression. And he's also seen how his family is impacted by racism, and he wants to control the way that his life turns out.
Yeah, I do agree that his artwork helps him to not only analyze his circumstances, but his identity as well. And my last question for today for you guys is, would you recommend this book to the educational system, and why or why not?
I would definitely recommend it. I think that it's so great for people of all ages to be able to read with this book and connect with it.
Yeah, and just the way that the novel kind of takes these dark ideas and twists them into this comedic form of writing, it really makes it easier for all ages to be reading this book.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet
Thank
you.
you so much for having us.
And stay tuned for next week's episode. And good night, everyone.
Anyways.